Hi, my name is Kenny and I'm one of the developers of the LAMBS Danger FSM, an AI mod for Arma 3. Now this video is a follow-up of the fleeing in flight video I made the other day, and it will showcase how the LAMBS Danger FSM has modified the core behavior which we explored a bit in that video. I'll be essentially showing 4 different constellations of reaction, ending with a demo of how the helicopter or other air units will also affect the AI in a similar manner. Now, as usual, this will be done in a sort of singular take. I'm no videographer, so we'll sort of deal with the problems as they arise, but it is what it is. So we'll start with the first check, where I will be having another look at the reaction and fleeing phases as they will appear in the LAMBS Danger FSM version 2.0, which, yes, it's set to release quite soon. And the setup is the same as in the previous video. The player is the driver of a tank. I have a 2-man patrol here with no orders or scripts running on them. The intention here is to showcase the innate vanilla fleeing response to meeting such a dangerous vehicle without any AT weapon or proper weapon to deal with that. This will trigger a fleeing response, and we will now see how the LAMBS Danger FSM enhances or modifies that default behavior. And with that said, let's go. So I start here in the vehicle. We can see in the top right corner here, they're not aware of me, they're not fleeing, they have no current commands going for them. That's T1 and T2 representing Trooper 1 and Trooper 2. I start my engine, no response. I roll forward, and now we'll quickly see some stuff starting to happen. First off, we have the initial reaction phase and an initial burst of sharing information, 133 meters. That's a shout, essentially. So any AI unit of the same side within that range would get to know what's happening. Next, you saw them go prone, but they quickly turn to this fleeing state. This happens because the tank is very close and they have no weapons which they can damage or penetrate the tank. So far, that behavior is actually vanilla. From now, what we'll be seeing is actually fleeing. They were pushing away. In the previous video, we actually saw them run into the tank and past the tank. Now they're taking the tank as a sort of reference and moving away from it. And they will be preferring pieces of cover, like this tree right here, the bush right here, and will be pressing onwards like this. And we've got a pretty fortunate situation here. Idris here has chosen to stop and hide in this tree. We'll explore that a bit in more detail, while Mustafa, who's actually the team leader, he's still running. When he gets at a certain distance, he'll start preferring the prone stance, but the fleeing initiative will sort of press him to get up. So he'll alternate between doing this sort of constantly. This is a sort of ranged base thing, and we can actually see him. He's making his way towards the sea, potentially the buildings right here. So why is Idris stopped? The reason why Idris has stopped is because he's beneath a tree or in a bush, and he considers that a bit more cover than anything else. Bushes would have triggered that, or being inside buildings. So every cycle, they're looking for these sort of trees, or also buildings that they can actually hide within. We'll return to Mustafa in a bit, and we'll see if he actually finds these buildings there, or if he just keeps on pressing towards the sea. Either is actually fine by my account. A bit of random is okay. So I return to the tank driver's seat. I'll scoot a bit forward, and I'll go to the gunner. And from this point of view, this guy's not very hidden. Of course, had we been in a helicopter, that would have helped, but in this case, it really doesn't. So I will start hitting the area around him. And this time it actually took quite a few hits, but you can see that when a area becomes threatened like this, they will actually abandon trees like this and actually keep on rushing away. And this is exactly what happened this time around. In fact, he just shifted over and found a new tree to hide in, but it is at least a tree out of sight of the tank, which I guess is better than the alternative. Mustafa, on his end, he has reached the sea. He's now getting a lot of let's call it wet locations as a place to escape, and he's actually just found a bush which he will lay down in, as we can see right here. Oh, he's actually toggling through it. We can see on the top there, they're both in a sort of fleeing state. T1, that's Mustafa. He's alternating between moving and rushing like that. This is fine, I believe. He is in a panicked state, let's not forget that, or I should say a fleeing state, which should be distinguished from the panic state introduced in the Danger FSM. You've seen videos about that before. In any case, we're seeing that sort of total disregard for self and just moving away. And if I took the tank and moved it closer to Idris, that would have been repeating itself with him finding that cover unsuitable and trying to abandon it. These guys are not in sensible control of their actions and so on. He is standing. This is something we might alter in the future. It really comes down to the fact that we are enhancing vanilla behavior, and I don't want to add extra scripts running on top of extra scripts to actually, for the mere thing of getting him to go prone. If we move closer to him or hit him with explosives or something like that, he would actually do that. So in practice, it would look differently. Let us not forget that we are viewing this from a bird's eye or in a God's eye perspective. So there's stuff there that can be enhanced, but at a certain point, why waste frames to do something which is rarely going to happen like that. We can actually see them throw this animation with waving in front of their faces, which is, I guess, a gesture to stop fire. I've been using that quite consistently throughout the mod when the unit is in a scared or a dire strait. You'll actually see that sort of consistency in the gestures carried throughout, and that is also to give the player a better indication of what the AI is actually going through at the moment, what they're thinking, what kind of state they are in. Hopefully in the future we'll be looking into getting our own custom animations instead of waving like that, you know, getting the gun off target, hands on his head, even more potent sort of danger gesture. In any case, that is the new improved flight mechanics. Not running towards the tank, not running towards some random hill or anything like that, but actually seeking out cover and trying to hide in it. Had they been close enough to these buildings, they would have actually sought out the buildings and gone firm inside the buildings as well. As luck would have it, Mustafa did not really find the buildings, and he's just alternating between these rocks. I'll also add that because I am the only threat they are available of, the only tank. Had I had infantry with me, sometimes the infantry would have been the greater, more immediate threat, and they would of course have responded to that. But still, a tank pushing with infantry will have a very immediate and effective effect on infantry like this, and that is absolutely a design intention of this mod. So I'll move on to the let's call it the second phase of this testing, where I'll be looking at the leadership or hiding phases or hiding actions that are also present in the mod, which are not at all dependent on the fleeing mechanic. And we can see T1, T2 fleeing. This is also a type of flight mechanic or a hiding mechanic, but it is much more ordered, much more controlled. So we'll have a look at that now, and this is in fact what the rest of the video will be showcasing. So we start again, same exact setup. I'll go into the gunner seat. I've got my MG. Notice if I fire off a few rounds, they'll actually react to that, and they'll start start hiding. We get the messages hiding in bush. You can see it actually says fleeing on the very bottom. That's because it is the same type of function that is being called. This guy's in a stealth mode now because he's hiding. We can hear him whisper, but we have the same sort of pattern of reaction. In fact, I guess I fired so many rounds that they actually went into a full fleeing mode. So I'll actually do a repeat of that test. That's fine. And I'll also put down a fire team over here who will not be as quickly or immediately threatened by me. Of course, I have no custom interface to show what they're thinking as such, but we can interpret that from their action, or hopefully so. So we're back again, gunner seat. You'll notice that the LMG takes a few moments for them to actually fire the cannon like that. You can actually see it. I got a Latif here to react. I think he's down here. Yes, he is. That's him, and they will also be moving like that. So actually, this time around we had the intended effect. T1 and T2, Mustafa and Idris here, they're not fleeing as such. They're now in a hiding type phase. They know there's a tank there. They're still in a bit of control. They're actually just moving backwards, trying to get into some more suitable pieces of cover. The debug information on the right hand side is quickly updating. If we interpret that, we can actually look into this these map markers and get a sense of the let's see the story so far. We see a leader action hide. This is when the leader brain knows that there's a dangerous threat like the tank or an aircraft nearby, and is therefore called a general hide. And in fact, the same thing has happened here downtown, where we can see the contact phase has been called out. You can barely see it on top there, and a hide. And it's being called out periodically because the tank threat has not gone away. And the units, most of them have sought buildings or bushes to hide in like that. One exception is Mr. Aslan here, who is carrying an AT weapon and is therefore capable of threatening the tank. So he's actually stood there. He's ready to engage. Perhaps in the future we'll look into making that more intelligent, but for now that's actually more than suitable and a considerable enhancement of what we're seeing. By more intelligent, I meant he could have been hiding inside a building and then only approached when the tank came within a more sensible engagement range. But again, we're viewing this with a God's eye perspective. As a player, you'd only really see that Aslan was outside once you got close enough, and that has the same sort of effect that we intended for it. And in any case, Mustafa and Idris here, they've sought out bushes. You can see this guy is well hidden, in fact, and hopefully Mustafa has found a spot he's happy with as well. Again, this is not a fleeing behavior. You can see that from the very top. This is actually just reacting to the fact that there is a tank here, and they do not have the weapons to actually deal with that tank at the present time. Seems like Mustafa has calmed down, and that's also good. So I think that concludes that part. This is what happens if a tank enters the battle space. The AI will seek cover. If they do have a weapon, like Mr. Aslan here, they'll remain ready to engage. Everyone else seeking cover, just getting down, hunkering down, and trying to avoid danger like that. And in fact, the last test I'll do will demonstrate the same sort of behavior with helicopters flying overhead or similar like that. No longer will they just be standing there ready to be targets for you. So I'll go out back into the editor and see if I can set that up. First, I will move the tank a bit away so that doesn't confuse the battle. Though I guess I could have been a sort of two-wave pincer thing where I pressed them down here with a tank. Not gonna do that right now. Outlet Connor seems a nice and likely place. Let's get one of the Ghost Hawks, but also remove all of the gunners because they are not necessary for this test. These guys move, and let's have them hover in the area for a couple of seconds just to get that going. There we go. Let's see how this develops. And again, this is our final test in regards to that. Helicopter needs a bit of time to get ready. We have that single patrol, Group A in this case. They're just standing around, and the same is true for Kadir down. I say downtown, but I guess 5 buildings isn't all that impressive. They do have a couple of nice boats. They're now stood static. This is live, rugged, and raw. I'm also crossing my fingers that everything should work as as it oughta. Once they become aware of the helicopter, they will start making assessments. They will communicate the presence of that helicopter, and we should hopefully see appropriate responses to that helicopter. Helicopter is coming in. Do see some movement. Oh, that's interesting. They were a bit slow, but actually here we go. We have that movement. Shared information this time, 66 meters through a shout like that. Group A, reaction phase, drop prone, suck cover. Kadir is already indoors, in fact. And if we will watch this situation develop, we should actually see the rest of them also do that. Perhaps it was a bit that Mr. Charles didn't really obey his waypoint, I must say. But in any case, we can see that as the situation sort of develops here, these guys are actually, Latif is seeking cover. Aslan is, he's carrying the AT weapon, so he shouldn't be all that worried. I suspect that Rahim has been given an attack order by his squad leader. It was actually a shot that triggered it. And in fact, he's not in a danger mode per se. He's still just aware. So they might actually sort of reset. After all, the helicopter came in without guns, without any real sort of threat of engagement here. Same for Group A, Mustafa and Idris there. Mustafa has a bit of sensible cover. Yeah, helicopter would need to return for them to do more. So what's the deal with Rahim here? Why is he running all the way over here? Well, I suspect he has been given one of the vanilla attack orders. So he moved to where the helicopter was last spotted. I mean, he does have an MG, and MG is an appropriate response to that helicopter. They didn't have any specific orders. They weren't garrisoned or anything like that. So he just pushed up here and tried to get a view where he could engage the helicopter. Frankly, I don't think it is ideal, but it is also a vanilla command. It's the thing that can be disabled if you run the set the command enabled attack to disabled on a group level. I've been playing with the idea of fully disabling it, but for now we're keeping things vanilla to just keep things seamlessly compatible with everything out there. He's actually scanning around him looking for any other threat, and I'm expecting him once his sort of timer runs out, whatever that vanilla thing is, he'll actually return to his formation to the rest of his gang, who are now again centered on this group leader. But you can see they've actually formed a wedge on him, so they actually abandoned their buildings to return there. Again, the reason this happened is because they didn't fully enter the danger or combat mode. It was just a helicopter flying overhead like that. But we still did see some actual sort of response to that, and I think that is good enough in a sense. Had the helicopter lingered around, hovered a bit, these guys would have actually been actively hiding inside the buildings and been making much less of just a stupid standing target like that. And most importantly, mission statement of the Lambs Danger FSM: seamless improvement, making buildings, making the more of the terrain part of the tactical landscape that the AI is exploiting. And in fact, I would say that has been accomplished here, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'll be ending the video there. Please throw your comments in the comment sections, or the Bohemia forums. Version 2.0 is right around the corner. If you follow our GitHub, you can see the actually daily progress being made there. And that's it from me. Thank you for watching.